I love medieval shields, so let's craft one of the most extraordinary types using only modern day, easily available materials. We'll start by crafting our own bending rig, then of course bending the shield, carving the shape properly, and many other interesting things. I'll even try to smith the fittings by myself for the first time. So thank you very much for clicking on this video. It'll still look like an authentic replica while being more resilient and cheaper. We'll copy this Targe from the late 15th century, and as you can see in the video's description where you can find the link to the source, it's from an auction house. So some of you maybe think that it's not that trustworthy, but we got museums pieces with the same shape and the coat of arms also historical proven. So I'm gonna give it a solid 90% probability that it's an original. Servus and hello there, my name's Andrew, I'm from the Shieldery. Let's start by crafting our bending rig now with those metal parts which I bought from eBay and the next inconvenient store. That means it's time for some metal work. Amazing what you can do in just a few seconds of time lapse. Now, before we can start to actually bend our shield, I want to test whether everything works as intended. The first thing is, of course, whether the shield bending rig does what it should and not that a screw comes loose or stuff like that. So if that should happen, we basically constructed a giant spring which will, well, come loose. So don't stand here or here while testing or bending in general, because, well, that's a bad place to be when 3 tons of power get loosened. The other thing we gotta test is whether our pieces of poplar plywood deform as they should. It's just way better to test that in advance, because first, if we'd overstress it, just one piece would break and not like everything. In addition, we wouldn't waste a lot of glue, which is the second point, because if we'd encounter a problem when the glue is already applied, we'd have a pretty strict time limit on that before, well, it dries. Now on my old rig, we'd already be at the limit here, but now with the new one, we got enough space left to make a stronger curvature. Yes! By the way, if you just want to make normal shields, I'll put a link with the measurements of my old piece in the link to my Patreon page in the video's description, but that's for free. If we would leave it like that now, the pressure wouldn't be transmitted over the whole length of the body, so we also gotta add a longer piece of wood down here. The curvature of the original shield was, by the way, not even on bottom and top. We gotta take care of that, and that's the first time I try something like this. My idea behind that is now, if we could keep it more straight on the future top side, then we should have a more diverse deformation. Can we bend it down? You see that? It moves to the side, so maybe we'll need something to stop it there too. Maybe with a clamp over the whole length. Fuck. Oh no. I just had it set up, and after like 10 seconds after applying the tension, the board broke. Yeah, well, I think that's a bit too deep. So I replaced that piece of wood with this one and put it sideways. Now we got like 4 centimeters less of pressure, and that's still enough, I'd say. I found a board to replace the broken one. It's like a millimeter thinner, but it's okay. Normally I really wouldn't recommend to put water on your pieces of plywood before bending. It doesn't make that much of a difference in flexibility, but weakens the glue quite a lot. Now I do it here because we've got a lot of glue for which we'll need a lot of time to apply. We also don't really want to soak the boards. We just want them to be not dry, so a bit of moisture is just right. Now we can clamp the top part together. Okay, that's gotta be interesting. Let's see if it works as it should, as it did with one board. As long as it doesn't break. What I already find suspicious is that this doesn't move as it should. Maybe under more tension. And I'm gonna listen closely whether I hear something crack. Till now I also feel basically zero resistance from turning the scissor jack. So what happens if I tighten it now? This would be way easier with big screw clamps. Let's just set them on the shopping list. I'm just gonna retry it without the board here and clamp that directly to the bending rig before. Then my screw clamps are long enough to do that, because I can already hear it crackling and leaning into that direction. So reset. I'm not exactly in the middle right now from the top part, but maybe that's enough. Just 2 centimeters, but I can already see how we ran out of scissor jack here at the top. We'll need another board for the actual try then, but as long as this is the only problem, I'm good. I'm afraid that this will snap off, but I hope the screw clamp which I placed here will avoid that. I'm still a bit afraid. Let's wait like 10 minutes, and if nothing happens till then, we are safe. But those 10 minutes aren't over yet. You see this? We need to apply pressure here. Unfortunately, I got no screw clamps left. As you can see, they're all in use now. So I'll head over to my neighbor and ask Tim. He usually has some of those left. I think you're gonna see it when all the gluing is done in 1 week, I think, maybe 2 weeks. So Merry Christmas and see you then. Now comes the interesting part. Let's see how much it deforms back after we release the tension. I let it sit for 2 weeks. Seems like that's enough. Oh yeah, that's so awesome. Oh. Another great advantage of that is that you can store it quite easily. It just takes like 25 centimeters off the wall away. Now just look how good the curvature matches. I'm so satisfied. But I originally didn't glue the part where I wanna carve the ridges out to the main body, because I thought, yeah, well, if I can cut them separately and so on, I'll probably spare some time. But looking at the curvature between the ridges now, they are so even, I think I would have more problems than solutions if I don't connect the 2 pieces now. But the extra work I'll have right now won't be for nothing, because as I took them apart, it smelled like fungus. And as you can see here, those dark spots are basically mold. So I took them apart and placed them on the radiator for a few days, and now we're pretty safe. So let's glue them together now. The main reason for that inconvenience is that we've got winter at the moment. So it's quite cold at my workshop, and that's not good if you want to get stuff dry. Maybe a hot air gun pointed at our piece would do the trick, like on the lowest level for 1 or 2 days. 2 days should be enough. I thought I was done with the heavy carving yesterday, but looking at it now, just see how off the middle wedge is. Nah. You know, the rest on the sides, this is nothing which the orbital sander won't be able to handle, which is the next step. But I guess it's time to get dressed up in all the safety equipment again. Stay positive. It still looks awesome. We've done a good job till now. Yes. In order to make it easier for me to see where the exact wedge is, I just take the side of the pencil and run it across the top. After I got rid of all the dust, of course. Maybe it's better with a Bleistift, as we say in Germany, and I think that's beautiful. Yeah. You can't see it that good on camera. Maybe on the big screen, but at least on the small display. We are finally done with the carving. As you can see in the last step, I made the lance hole a bit bigger. That's because the customer said that his lance has approximately a 5 centimeter diameter. The next step is to add fabric to the shield. That will make it more resilient in general. We will use cotton fabric for the Targe. This actually wasn't a thing in Europe till the late 17th century. The obvious problem here is of course the curved surface, because when the fibers of the fabric get wet, they shrink and therefore it could get pulled out of the crevices. Now in order to avoid that, we will just wetten the fabric first, and then after most of the shrinking has happened, glue it to the surface. The second problem we're gonna have is the lance hole, because how do you want to do that? You don't have enough fabric here to fold it over the edge. So after setting it in place, we're going to use a scissors to cut small straps and then slightly massage them into the position we like it to have. Now the third problem is the close weaving of the fabric, I think, because that's like nearly airtight till a certain pressure, which means that it will be quite difficult to massage out air bubbles. That most likely will only be possible to the sides. I'll try to place it on top in a way that no air bubbles form in the first place. But that is a bit more difficult than usual, so let's see. Of course it's PVA glue again. Okay, I set it in place. Yeah, we're covering everything. And now I start at the middle wedge. Those folds will be a pain in the ass, I tell you. Let's take a bit of glue as a lubricant. Okay, maybe if I pull a bit. Nah, then I get loose in the crevice. Bang! Oh no! If the fabric would be more open woven, we wouldn't have a problem with that, because you could massage it in the position you like way easier. But it's quite difficult to find cotton which is done in that way. Okay, let's cut out the shape now. The PVA glue has dried. I'm quite satisfied, but it's not perfect, because as you can hear, we've got a large air pocket here, and that's not the only one. But we can fix it. Before I want to start with that, I want to take care of the fittings though in a very new way by smithing it myself. This was always a dream of mine, and I want to start with the most convenient tools which I've already lying around. If that shouldn't work, I'll head to the next hardware store and upgrade. Follow me outside. I'm a bit afraid of accidentally melting through my firewall here, so I'm gonna put some stones on the bottom. Maybe that also helps with the circulation, because you got holes in between the stones which are, well, good for the air to circulate. I'm eager to start the fire because it's quite cold. We've got January at the moment. Oh. Some of those stones are wet. Let's risk it. Let's chop some wood now, and yes, I'm gonna start with wood. Let's see whether that's enough. I'm gonna use a good mixture between hard and soft wood. What? I said easy tools. I hope you didn't expect me to make the authentic fire method now. While the fire starts, let's transform this block of wood into our anvil. I'll just drill this piece of metal down on top of it. I always use that for riveting, so it's basically part of the workshop now. If you don't have one like that, you could also use a big hammer. I want to place it on the edge so that I can also work like at an angle on my piece of metal. Let's see how good the heat gun works. That should work. Let's put it up like that, and as you can see, I made sure that we've got a bucket of water nearby, just for security reasons. I guess we gotta put the first iron in there and see what happens now. Okay. It's glowing a bit. Not that good. Let's put it in a bit longer. Look at that. It's glowing. Let's see whether you can smith it. This is so much easier than I thought. Oh, yes, 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 yes. Come on, get into focus. You see that? I could round it up quite easily. Yes! This is so... Yes! Yes, yes, yes! Okay, it's a bit difficult to get the correct position. When we got a bit more coals, it will be easier. The next time I'm definitely gonna buy coals, but the ones for grilling should be way enough if even wood is, well, doing the job. Oh no. I split the first one. I think that's because I keep hammering it although it was already too cold. So let's try not to repeat that. Another thing I figured out is that you basically have to build a cave of the wood. By doing that, you reach higher temperatures. I'm quite satisfied with the pointiness now, which means we gotta bend it twice and then make the other end also pointy. Of which I'm afraid, because if I put it into the fire, into the flames, maybe I won't be able to grip the piece anymore and the pointy end gets hot quite easy. So I'm afraid that it maybe melts. That will be a challenge I have to figure out. Another thing that happened is that some of the stones broke. They didn't explode, but they got lifted a bit. That's not Darwin Award worthy, but I wouldn't recommend that for you if you want to do that also. Gonna try to rip it off now. Okay, let's see whether I can keep it glowing on a point where I also can access it with the tongs. Yeah, it starts to glow. Maybe it's enough. Awa, awa, ah. Yes. Okay, 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 okay. Let me get a glove now. Then it should be way easier to pull the thing out of the fire. And also I can already feel how the hammer handle bites into my hand. I'd give that a pass. It's not really beautiful and I need it like 5 times longer than a professional smith. More like 10 times I think. I should zoom out. That's the first staple and in the end we'll need 3. But I think I'll stay with one self-own handsmithed one and use the other one from a professional smith. Because what we don't have is the hook. And I want it to be like beautiful with a leaf, so I'm gonna start with that now. We'll also need a thicker piece of square steel. I'm afraid we could run out of time, so better hurry up now. You see that? A spark landed on my trouser and nearly burned through. Dang. I'll also start to wet my gloves because they started to smell very funny. All in all, I'm quite satisfied, but here are 3 things I'm gonna change when I do that the next time. First one is buy proper coals. That would make all of that just way easier and more effective. The second one is similar: buy proper tongs, because otherwise I'll just burn my hands again all the time and it's quite difficult to hold it correctly with the stuff I used. So buy proper tongs, eBay 3 pieces, old, for like 20 bucks. The last one is get proper lighting, because when it got dark I had like problems from switching to the bright fire to a quite dark anvil. I gotta mention though that I got some complaints about the noise, so I won't do that again in the near future. On the other hand, I'm gonna move also in the near future, so maybe I got a chance there. But still, trying something new on a budget is always fun and exciting. Speaking of which, if you want to start with a medieval fantasy hobby, you can buy proper clothing to an excellent price at today's sponsor, Burgschneider. Most of them are directly inspired by reliable historical sources. They feel good on the skin and are machine washable. I tested it by myself on an outdoor overnighter and it did a great job. You'll get way above average clothing for just a slightly higher price, which will get even lower if you use my code SHIELD10. This will support this channel and you can find the affiliate link in the video's description. But before you do that, please turn off all the coupon ads or add-ons, because they will override my affiliate link with their own, even if they don't find any codes. They are doing that to basically everyone on the internet, so please keep that in mind. Thank you very much. Let's get back to the project by eliminating all the air pockets now. Can you hear that? We got one there. The solution is to take a knife and cut an X into it. Goes till back there, so maybe I'll slice further back. Now we open that up until we feel a resistance, and then we just add some PVA glue again. And there we go. Another thing we gotta take care of are those parts which are just sticking out too much or are not properly glued in place. In this case, we can just cut it off. I'll also do my best to remove the marks which the clamps left. We'll use PVA Ponal glue as a base for the base coat again. Let's start with 80 gram and fill it up with water till we are at 500 gram. I'm really excited to see how good I can mix the chalk in. Wow! It actually works better than with the hide glue. It goes down way quicker. It also starts forming islands faster. Normally that's a sign that we added enough. Let's try to go with that. It's not covering as much as I'm used to with the authentic base coat. I tried to add some chalk, but it just didn't go down. So that was a mistake. I try to mix it in by force now. Hopefully it won't create those annoying pore-like bubbles. Oh no, it looks like I was just way too impatient yesterday and didn't wait until the former layer has properly dried before applying the next. I'll try to fix that now by just applying another layer. If that doesn't work, I'll just have to grind it away and start new. Otherwise, on the places where I did it correctly, it makes a good impression though. You see that? Really sturdy. I can't even scratch it with my fingernail. Let's hope for the best. Now I'm gonna wait till it gets a bit soft and then try to press it down. Oh crap. No, 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 no. No, no. I have to remove it. At least I can scrape it off easily when it's wet. Kinda satisfying though. Maybe I shouldn't put it on so thick anyways. One of the other problems is that the fabric is just too even. If it would be more closely woven, we'd have much more surface. I'll also add more glue to the mixture, like 1 or 2 spoons more. Okay, I took my time now and applied 2 other layers. It seems like another problem of the base coating is that it like cracks when it gets too thick, so 2 layers is the maximum. It's not perfect, but I'd say we can continue. If you're a beginner though, don't do that. Better buy some professional gesso from an artist's shop. Better invest the time and energy into making your own paint, which will be the next step. And the customer only wants to use it for like a few stances and light fencing. The customer, by the way, is Björn, a fellow YouTuber who does amazing content. This is like the 5th shield he bought from me. He'll do a video about shields in the near future, so definitely check him out. I'll link him in the video's description, of course. Let's just clean it up now, then we can continue by making the paint, which is way easier. And acrylic paint is quite easy to get. If you don't want to make it by yourself, you can also buy it, but the self-made one is better in this case, I promise. This is the first time on this channel that I show you how to make acrylic paint, but it's not difficult at all. We only need 3 ingredients. The first one is a pigment. For the red we're going to use cadmium orange number 2, cinnabar red, because well, the original paint looks like cinnabar. The second one is what will glue all of that together, which is acrylic dispersion. Maybe you can buy that on Amazon, otherwise Creamer Pigments ships worldwide. The third thing we'll need is water, because if you would mix those 2 right away, it would dry immediately. The tools are also quite simple. You only need a palette knife. You can get like 5 of those on Amazon for €8, and a flat surface, like that piece of glass for example. So you could also use an old mirror. What you shouldn't use though is acrylic glass or plexiglass, because the acrylic paint will just dry to it and you can't get it loose afterwards. But on a piece of glass this is no problem. Oh, I just love the red. Now we add the water, then we mix it up, maybe a bit more water. Yeah, that's the consistency we want. We do that until we have no clumps left, like this. Let me just get my second palette knife. And now we're gonna add roughly the same amount of the acrylic dispersion. Just like that. Fun fact, the acrylic dispersion will get translucent when drying. This is the reason why the acrylic paints in general get a bit darker when they dry. Do you see how beautiful that is? And it also dries very quickly and is very covering. Companies usually only use the bare minimum of pigment, what we don't do here. Now this should be dry in approximately 2 minutes. Then before we can take care of the fittings, I want to apply a varnish. This will also be like a standard one from Amazon. Now I gotta admit that this looks kind of strange, but after you know how it works, we will agree that this is the pinnacle of medieval shield fittings. Now the first step is to put my arm through here. Then I'll tighten that like this, put it around my neck and hook it in. This is really awesome now because I can move my shield very freely, and I could also put it on my back if I wanted, as well as trying to catch the enemy's weapon and then just pull it out of his hands. In addition, I can move my left hand very freely. I could even swing like a double-handed weapon without having any problems. So let's take care of the paint job now. As you can see, the surface is quite uneven, so I'm not sure whether the carbon copy paper method works. I'll still try it. But before we start with that, I'm gonna paint it red because our color is just so covering. By the way, don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it so far. The YouTube recommendation system is also getting weirder and weirder, and I'm the kind of channel that maybe publishes 1 video per month. So please don't forget to hit the subscribe button and maybe even ring the bell. If you enjoyed this video, also check out that one in which I craft the same type of shield but using authentic materials, and I'll even gild it. See you there and thanks for watching that long. Bye bye!